Hey everyone, it's Katie and Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hi, everybody.
All right, this review is a little late because we had some technical difficulties as well as we had already pushed that off a little bit after we had actually watched these two episodes in the penultimate review for season two. But we are here, and we are here to talk about the third to last and second to last episode of Agent Carter season two.
Yep.
So this was a dark coupling of episodes,
Yeah, they were really dark.
especially the first one. The first one in particular, there's so much funny bits to the majority of the season. Granted, there was some serious stuff and some intense stuff, but generally, it's a very adventurous, adventures in LA sort of feel. And then we get to the first episode we're talking about, which is episode 8, The Edge of Mystery, and it takes a real dark dive into some depressing stuff.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, a lot happens in this episode. And we're gonna try to do our best, like we have the last couple of reviews, to not mistake stuff that happened in the first one that happens in the one after. I don't know how well we're gonna do because again, we keep watching them back to back, but we'll do our best. So in this one, we have we after the really dark stuff that happened in the episode before, Jarvis's wife Anna is in the hospital because she got shot, and Wilkes has been kidnapped by Whitney Frost, and there is still Thompson still kind of siding with Red from that '70s show, and he's trying to dig dirt up on Peggy. And besides that, I'm trying. What else happened at the start of this episode?
Um, well, what happened was is we get the aftermath from uh Anna Jarvis getting shot.
Well, yeah, we
And
do, and it's really intense, and it takes a while to kind of to unfold throughout the first half of the episode. Specifically, that she's not in good shape. It's a really, really bad wound, and they don't know if she's going to wake up. And Peggy immediately told Jarvis, "You need to be with your wife. She needs to hear your voice even before she wakes up. I will take care of all the other stuff I will take care of the mission, everything. You need to be here with your wife." And I think she said you need to clean yourself up and have your suit on and everything because when she wakes up, she's going to want to see you as you are, not as the mess you are right now, which I thought was a really nice moment. There was a lot of really good moments in these two episodes with Peggy and Jarvis. They've done such a good job of building that friendship throughout the seasons, connecting it back to what the last season was, which I really liked. So they're dealing with that, and they're also dealing with trying to figure out how to get Wilkes back. So, I mean, what do you think about? There's a lot that they played up with Wilkes and Whitney Frost in this particular episode where she's trying to convince Wilkes to join her because she just kidnapped him.
yeah,
But
she kidnapped him, and then she starts to try to bargain with him and like, hey, we're not so different, you and I speech thing.
yeah, she did that a little bit the episode before, but she's doing a lot now. And she makes the valid point that I'm the only thing keeping you solid. Yeah, you could be in that cage thing, but I'm the only thing that's keeping you able to be solid for I think she said 30 minutes at a time, something like that.
Yeah, she said something like she's been
Or
mathing
maybe a
out
few
his
hours, I forget.
situation.
Yeah. Um, and she ends up showing him her notes because she has this idea about opening up the rift and going into it, I think. And he's like, I don't like this is crazy. This is super dangerous and also you murder people and she's just like, well, sometimes you have to break a few eggs, you know? Um
Yeah.
but you can see that he's very desperate, and they do a good job. They've done a really good job throughout this entire season of showing him as a good man who's being brought to like right to the edge of his breaking point. And I feel like a lot of his desperation makes a lot of sense for what they've set him up for, which is good writing. You know what I mean? Like they've
Mhm.
really set him up as a really decent human being who is going through something really, really tough. And again, I really liked Wynn Everett as Whitney Frost. She does such a good job. I think she's one of my favorite villains of the MCU. And but then we get to so we should probably though jump back into the Jarvis family stuff because something in particular happens, which is something that I actually saw coming. I don't think I said it in the review last week. I can't remember. I or you know for the episodes before. I can't remember if I did this, but I had a guess that immediately after she got shot, or right when she got shot, the placement of her wound I thought was too specific to not mean that they were leading it to be her getting not being able to have kids.
Yeah. That's that sort of happens. I didn't really catch that, but you did.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't think it's just because I'm a woman because I talked to someone else who was kind of pissed off at it and she didn't catch it, she didn't see it coming. But I was like, when I saw that, because when a female character gets shot in any one show, which surprisingly happens a lot, there are a few like, and whenever it's in the torso area, there are a few ways that they could go. Either she's gonna die, or she can't have kids, or they're gonna paralyze her. Like, and by the way, yeah, that is messed up. But you could
Yeah, it's one of
basically
those tropes that they like to do to women, and
a lot.
it's come up a lot lately. Um, it ha did it happened to um Black Widow in
Well, she
um
didn't get shot. She got
yeah, but
operated on. But yeah, but the whole
the whole
sterilization
sterilization thing
and
is a
being
trope.
barren thing, like oh, the tragedy of being barren. Which, by the way, I mean it is heartbreaking for women who have to go through that, either where they are naturally not able to have kids, or something was done to them, or something happened, or there was an accident. Blah 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 blah. Like, don't get me wrong, that is tragic. It's something that people like to write into women's characters a lot.
Yeah, they use this trope really often.
And Mike, you had mentioned to me that while it was not actually specifically said last season, because she was in the Black Widow program, Dottie
May as
is
well.
implied, yeah, is implied to also have gone through forced sterilization, which again is like that again they haven't brought that up in the show.
And
It's
I
just been
actually think I thought they did. I
the
thought she
only thing
did
I
mention it in
remember
season
when
1.
the only thing I remember because someone had pointed it out to me was that she looks at the baby carriage that she uses for one of the plans in
Mhm.
kind of like a loving way, and you're not sure if she's doing that because she's playing a part or because that's her kind of weird mind stuff where she's the same way that she connects weird things to Peggy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really frustrating that they went that way because especially because now that I think about it, it's not exactly a fridging. Because first, but I should point out, fridging can does not necessarily mean that a woman is dead. It means that a woman has gone through severe violence or has like a woman is being tortured or suffering specifically written to give a male character angst, or to drive him to do something, and for that to be the main thing. I
Hurt a
think that
woman for male motivation.
yeah, exactly. I think that this edges the line into fridging. Again, because if you think about Barbara Gordon's getting shot and paralyzed is also considered one of the quintessential fridge. She does not die, but she was used as a plot device in order to add action to a male character. And this one is very edging on it. I think what saves it a little bit is the fact that she is still like that we see her afterwards and we see her wanting to face what was happen whatever it was. Um which I guess I just got into the second episode into the second part of the episode. But we do see in the episode after once she wakes up that I think a little bit of it is helped, but it is kind of fridging her, which is and it is very much it's not just the action of her getting shot, because that in itself, a woman getting shot in a story does not necessarily make it a fridging. It's the fact that this is moving him to the thing that happens at the end of the story, specifically that he tries to shoot Whitney Frost and that backfires and they get knocked out
At the end of the episode.
at the end of the episode. So with this, the other thing that happens with Jarvis in this episode is that when he finds out that she can't have kids, he says that he's going to go tell her himself because they say we have a nurse who can explain everything. And he goes, no, 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 I'll do it. And then he backs out and he doesn't tell her. And she says, like, what? Well, is anything else wrong? Because he said that, that the operation was a success. And he goes, nope, you're fine, and he doesn't tell her. And it is one of those things that is very common in a superhero show, because Daredevil did it, and the Flash did it, and Supergirl to extent did it. And I'm pretty sure I haven't watched Arrow, but I'm pretty sure Arrow has done it at least once in their long history of bad choices for female characters. But oh, and I know Agents of Shield has done it, where a character, usually a female character, has information hidden from them from someone that they care about, like important information that they should definitely know because the person doesn't want to tell them. That's
Yeah,
kind of
it's a
it's an ongoing problem in these superhero shows, and in this one in particular, I was kind of annoyed because I've seen it happen so many other times.
yeah, it happens in like everything, and it's unfortunate because it's really tiring, and this plot device is like it's not it's not a good writing choice to do this plot, is what I'm trying to point out.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, it's existed since like at least the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, and I
So
mean,
it's been going on for like 16 years of doing this one plot device in superhero media.
yeah, I mean, well, you can also say like Superman did. I mean, it's been like going on and on, but it's particularly bad in the cases of the TV shows because it's an ongoing, like in the movies, I still don't like it, but it's like a one story thing. In in the TV shows, and this doesn't even apply really to Agent Carter because Agent Carter only did this once, and as we'll talk about, it gets resolved fairly quickly in a way that is framed pretty well. But in general, the trope in TV shows is used so that episode after episode,
And
you
not
know,
just that, but then there's a whole team of people in on the secret, and then there's
I
just that
know.
one person that doesn't and
I
isn't.
know. I mean, how quickly did Hawkgirl learn that Barry was the Flash when he wouldn't tell his own ding dang girlfriend after not telling his like foster sister slash like best friend for a whole season basically.
It's not
So,
good.
yeah, it's not good. It's really a bad look. So that was frustrating, and the fact that it was coupled with that other trope, which is the trope of making a woman barren to cause her husband pain thing, both of them are not particularly good ideas. So we're kind of jumping around, but essentially the couple other points we need to talk about is that Thompson finds dirt on Peggy, which he takes to Peggy and says, "Well, now I have dirt on you. You need to stop doing this case." Which seems like really awkward. Like it's a really awkward thing for him to do because technically I think she like resigned already. You know, that got wrapped up. Like it seems I don't know if that got wrapped up this episode or if he's like I guess it was just like even though you don't work for me anymore, I have dirt on you now, so stop doing this. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah,
So
but Peggy goes and defends herself and like, you know this is bullshit.
yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because then I don't know, like it's weird that Red said to dig up dirt on her. I know, I'm gonna keep calling him Red. To dig up dirt on her and then like did he plant the evidence?
I don't know.
That's it just seems weird then they had to find it from a British officer and stuff. It will be interesting though, but she's very refuting like no, you're better than this. This is ridiculous. And then he immediately goes, like, leaves with the tail between his legs, and he goes to his boss ish. I think like it's a head, like it's a few heads above him, I guess. But he figures out that something shady's going on, and he catches him trying to steal one of the devices. Or no, it wasn't the devices. It's the core stuff that Whitney Frost has been looking for. And Thompson ends up getting his mind erased, at least for the last few minutes, through that machine that Peggy used before, which just goes to show that that machine is pretty unethical. Like, there are all these shenanigans going on a few episodes ago with it, and yet the actual use of it is, like, really, like, it's weird that they framed it as, like, goofy for the first few episodes, and now it's like, oh, wait, no, it's pretty horrifying. But he remembers enough for them to figure out that Red from That 70 Show is up to no good, and and then they were going to do this big high stakes showdown thing in the desert with them. However, I what happens before is I think one of the more crucial parts of the episode. Do you want to explain what it is?
Yeah, what what is it we on?
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
It's when they try to rescue Wilkes.
Oh, this Wilkes betrayal?
Yeah, I kind of went forward because I think the Thompson stuff happens after.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, this is Wilkes betrayal and after they rescue Wilkes by trading the fake uranium rods, um basically uh Wilkes figures out that they like double crossed Whitney, and then he's
Well,
like,
they all figure out because they accidentally drop them, and then when no one explodes, they figure it out.
yeah, and then Wilkes is in the ride and he's desperate to um get more dark matter or zero matter, and he takes a gun and he holds it up to Sousa and he goes, hey, where are the real rods? And then eventually escapes. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's interesting because again, we talked about his desperation, and it was very heartbreaking to watch this because he's a good person and he's trying to be the best person he can, but he's to his end, you know?
Yeah.
He's too the farthest he can go, and
He's
he's
been
worried
pushed to his
about
limit. And
he's worried about like not just dying but like facing oblivion, you know?
mhm.
And Yeah, it's a real frustrating thing to watch. But at the same time, I thought that they set it up pretty well. I think the most like crazy thing is really seeing him put a gun on Peggy. And yeah, that was I think the part that really hit home just how bad it is for him right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, besides that, beyond that, they end up going to the desert, and Whitney and Wilkes end up going into the by this where the hole is that they've made. And but it's Wilkes that gets sucked up and not Whitney, and she is freaking out about it. But
Yeah,
then,
they've
but
they've been talking about hearing the voices of the void or whatever, and Wilkes basically, I don't know if he gets chosen or if he just
no,
feels the dark matter.
I don't think it's a conscious being. I think that it's manifesting in their brains as a conscious being.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm reading it. So yeah, he gets sucked up, but because the SSR people, specifically um, Thompson, Samberly, and Souza, have been getting this device together. And it was actually Howard sent them it, which seems like a Deus Ex Machina sort of thing, where like okay, he just happened to send. I don't know. It just seemed like out of nowhere. Oh, I have this solution for you.
Yeah.
It was a little cheap of it, but whatever. So they shoot this cannon into that like portal, and it stops, and luckily Wilkes comes out of it, but he's all bubbly and gurgling, like his skin is underneath his skin. So and that's when Jarvis chooses to shoot Whitney Frost, and that doesn't work. And then Whitney decides to take Agent Carter and Mr. Jarvis hostage because Wilkes will probably need some incentive, or she at least anticipates him needing some incentive. Oh, and the one last thing I want to talk about before we move on to the second episode, because I know we need to move on to the second episode, is the really great dynamic between Whitney Frost and her boyfriend, who's the mob boss guy. It's Manfredi. It's so interesting because her husband was very not appreciative of what she did. He was very like into her looks. He was very put off by her new powers, which to be honest, I can give him that because I would have been that's unnerving. But he was just not a very good husband to her. He cheated on her. He clearly had very specific reasons for being with her. He used her skills to make himself look better, etc., etc. So, so now she's with this Manfredi guy who she's been with before, but he ends up having this really nice moment with her where he tells her not to cover up her face, that the that crack in her face is a sign of power. It isn't a sign of like that's not anything to be ashamed of because he thinks this is her coming into her own, and he thinks that she's the most beautiful she's ever looked. And there's just like really healthy relationship between the two of them despite the fact that they're both horrible murderers. And I like that.
Yeah. They have a really they have a relationship that at least seems healthy. And
Healthy in the context of just the two of them, not necessarily healthy out in the rest of their lives, you know.
yeah.
So, so with that, unless do you have anything else to say?
Um other than Howard Stark sending the Deus Ex Machina plans by by
Telegram.
telegram. Yeah, that was a rather odd part, but yeah, I think I'm ready to move on.
Uh, so the second episode we're talking about, again, we it ended with this
Peggy
episode.
and Jarvis getting knocked out.
Exactly. And we had this really dark episode. So what do we follow this up with? A dance number. It's amazing. Um I'm so happy this exists. It was totally out of left field. I knew that there was going to be some kind of dream sequence because I knew that Angie was coming back specifically for some kind of dream sequence. I had heard that already. I was not expecting it to be a song and dance number about how she has to choose between these two potential loves of her life, which was amazing. But it starts off actually with like this kind of noir, black and white setting because she's just knocked out. What I liked about this too was that it was one of those weird dream moments where like it will start off with one topic in your dream and then it will completely sidetrack into something else that's completely weirder. So she's at the SSR and she sees in Sosa's office that it's her brother. And they have this the brother that died in the flashback a few episodes ago. So they have this talk and she talks about how much she misses him and how he's the reason that she's in this mess because if he didn't go off and die and inspire her, to join uh the military, this never would have happened. And he goes, "This is always what you wanted. This wasn't for me. This was for you." But there was this really nice moment between the two of them, and she got to tell her brother how much she missed him, even if it was just like the construct in her mind. And then immediately it goes to a musical esque, like a stage musical set of the diner from the first season, and and then it's just a song and dance number with a bunch of the different characters, including Sousa being able to talk or that being able to walk and Wilkes dancing with her and Angie dancing and Dottie shows up because in a fairly ominous way she says like I'm always in your head, Peggy. But it was just a perfect distraction from all the darkness from the episode before it. It made
Yeah.
me really happy.
Yes, and in this scene we also get our only sighting of Angie.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, and Angie again, it's like it sucks that she wasn't in, and it makes no sense to me because she should have been in there as like they were going to LA. She's an actress. They could have totally written her in. I think maybe the actress who plays her had other commitments, but it's still a real bummer that they couldn't include her because that was such a big part of the first season. It makes me really, really hope that they can include her if they do end up getting a season three. Like, I really want to see her come back.
Yeah, I do want to see her come back, and it's really odd actually that they didn't use her for this season.
Yeah, it is odd. Like I said, I wonder if it was just the time commitment thing. But this scene was really good, and I've watched it a few times, and it's just a joy. Like, I'm just really glad that they went there because it was real fun. And there were a lot of little moments that felt like they felt like little, not even not so specific musicals, just to the general, like, tone and little, like, movements, little, like, musical, like, dance combinations. I can't explain it more than that. I just really liked it. But yeah, then she wakes up and she's tied up in the
Van.
back of a van. But they escape and they get dumped on the road. And Jarvis, who is not in a good mood at this point, because not only is his wife seriously injured, but also he did not kill the woman who shot her. And now they're in the middle of nowhere and cell phones aren't invented yet. And for all they know, those same people could come back at any time and realize they're going to come back and then just like kill them or something. So, over the course of a few scenes and they end up just like trying to walk and they end up having a fight. And he accuses her of stuff, she accuses him. he basically accuses her of being a like of being someone where everybody dies around her, where she must be the dangerous one and everybody else, you know. And then she accuses him of playing of acting like this is a game that he can go off and have adventures and then come home and not have to deal with the consequences because there are never any consequences for him, whereas there are consequences for her and she has to live with that every day. And then that's when Jarvis tells her about Anna and her not being able to have kids, and immediately Peggy feels super guilty about the things that she just said into Jarvis's face.
Yeah, it's rather unfortunate that they have this argument, but I think it's a good scene for them.
No, it really is. And it does call out a lot of the things about this show. I think it adds a layer of seriousness to what they're doing. And it does, as much as I love the wacky hijinks, I think it's a good thing that she's bringing up that there is a level of responsibility that she feels. And also, I like the fact that Jarvis calls himself out for one being careless, but more importantly, really for not telling his wife yet. Where like he says, "Of course you didn't know. Nobody knows. She doesn't know because she's married to a coward." And he actually owns up to the fact that him hiding this from her was was a bad idea, was a mistake.
Yeah,
And he feel like the performance is just really good, and it really drives home the fact that like what he did the last episode wasn't right, which I like. I really like the fact that they went there.
true, and I will also give them credit for basically keeping this secret for only one episode.
Yes, if they
Cause
kept it longer, I would have been really annoyed.
yeah,
Especially because it's like part of her medical condition. That's ridiculous.
yeah, um, so they only keep it from her from one episode, but still, it's still a trope that exists far too often.
Yeah, it is. Um, so besides that, I mean, I think the most tedious part of the episode, to be quite honest, is this like weird like back and forth between Red from That 70s Show and the SSR guys. Specifically, it was fine to begin with. Thompson, before the bad guys got to them when they were shooting off the cannon, Thompson had convinced them to pretend like he had gotten the one up on them and was actually working for the bad guys.
Yeah, he's doing a little uh, betrayal here just to get them out of the desert
Yeah.
because apparently their orders are to shoot all three of them.
Yeah,
And
and then
so
he goes,
Thompson
"No, no, no."
tricks,
Yeah, he Thompson convinces them otherwise. So I thought that was good. But then there's this like weird where he talks to Red about it, but then
and then he
and
goes to
he
Red
convinces
and
Red to betray Whitney. And so then they're all working with Peggy. But then Thompson
Thompson
goes,
immediately goes and betrays either it at least Red, but he's going to betray
I don't
basically
think he's
everyone else.
I think he's lying to Whitney and saying that he's betraying everyone else. I think he's only betraying Red.
Yeah,
But it's made really unclear, and this whole plot is really awkward. Like it's real, like this whole like B line of or yeah, B plot line for Thompson is just I don't know. It was not really well handled. The writing was off. Um, but no, so that all happens. And I'm trying to think what else happens. I mean, that's really the cusp of it. Wilkes realizes that after getting out of the void that he is not doing good,
and
that
he is
this
done
is
with Zero Matter.
that he can't yeah, it can't be used anymore. He does have to get it out of him. And yeah, more or less that's what he just keeps saying, no, you gotta stop, and Whitney's torturing him to try well, she's experimenting on him, but it ends up being torture. But to try to get the antimatter out of him, and then at the end of the episode, seriously, I've watched this like two different times, and I'm still like confused by all the stuff that happens. But basically, um, Red Red comes in. Sorry, I can only keep calling him Red. But Red from that 70s show comes in, like talks to Whitney. I think Whitney says that, oh, I'm betraying you or something. She's about to kill him. But then there was they had set up like, yeah, a bomb or something, and Thompson was going to have it detonate to kill. And so there was a showdown between Peggy and Thompson because she's like, "No, you're killing an innocent man." With Wilkes, and they're like, "Well, he wasn't really that innocent. He just put a gun to your head." And she's like, "No, he's a good man." And at the same time, she tries to go in and save him, and Wilkes locks himself in. I'm jumping around a lot because it was really confusing, but essentially the thing that happened at the very end of the episode is Wilkes is locked in with Red from that 70s show and Whitney Frost, and he explodes. And that's essentially the end of the episode. Right? Because I'm trying to think there's anything else that happens.
Um, that's essentially the end. Um, the other thing that we get is that, yeah, that's about it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's all I can think of. I feel like maybe there was a little bit with Sozo, where Sozo was like, oh, where she maybe yells at him or like snaps at him for giving away the where that might have happened in the episode before actually, where he was like, "What if you had if I had a gun to my head, you wouldn't have said anything." So, yeah, essentially that's it for that episode. It ends on like I guess it's a cliffhanger, but it's certainly another dark moment. And there no one's really sure what's going on with everything. Oh, we do see Jarvis actually tell Anna, and as I said earlier, Anna we don't see Anna's reaction, at least in this episode we don't see it, but we do. She is at least going like, I know something else is wrong. I want you to be honest with me. I want to know, which gives her a little more agency.
Yeah, she realizes Jarvis is hiding something from her.
And she's one of those people who wants to be told just so. Oh, the other thing that happened at the beginning of the first episode is we get to see a little flashback from last season. The bit where in the second episode, I think, maybe even the first. Yeah, I think it was the first where Jarvis is helping Peggy defuse the bomb over the phone, and we do hear Anna come through the door, but it was before she was cast. So then you get to see her talking to Jarvis about like, oh, who's this man who you were talking like this man agent or this man person that was helping Mr. Stark. And Jarvis like, oh no, it's a Miz. And of course Anna just immediately thinks that it's like some lady that he's trying to romance. And Jarvis goes, no, no, no. I think he actually respects this one, and essentially says, oh, don't worry, her, what she's doing won't interfere with our lives in the slightest. And she says, don't make promises you can't keep, and then immediately cuts to her in the hospital. Um, so sorry, and I jumped around like way back to the beginning of this of what would have been the beginning of this review. But yeah, that was also a really good scene. I like the little character moments in the show. But besides that, I'm just anxious to get on to get the finale going.
Yeah, I'm
So
really ready for the finale, and I want to know what's going on and sort of how they wrap this all up because it's sort of I would say that so far there are definitely flaws with this season, but I want to see the finale before I
yeah,
really get into that.
I think my vague predictions about this is I really really want them to have Peggy get picked to start Shield. Basically, I want her and Howard to have that conversation like, "Well, the SSR isn't doing too great these days, huh? I was thinking about this. Maybe we need to figure out something else.
Maybe we need to do something on our own.
Yeah, maybe it's time to do something on our own." Um, that's what I'm anticipating at least. And the other thing is I think that they're setting, especially with the dream sequence, I think they're setting Peggy up to like to choose a man, which I'm not super thrilled with, but whatever. But I'm thinking that something like that there'll be some definite love interest confirmation, romance confirmation by the end of the episode. And I also I'm trying to think what else. I think possibly Wilkes might die. I mean, the blowing up thing, I almost feel like maybe he's going to be spared because if he was going to blow up and stay blowed up, it would have happened in the last episode, like in the final episode and not the episode right before it, but we'll see. Um yeah, I'm expecting something along those lines. I'm also wondering if we're going to get to see Whitney Frost in the actual Madame mask. I'm really, really, really hoping we do.
Yeah.
Any other predictions before we go?
Um, Howard Stark's gonna show up, so
Yeah, we do know that, but that's not really a prediction. That's a cast list.
shush.
And we've seen
I'm
that.
going to be right in this prediction.
That is true. All right, and with that, we will leave you. We will leave you, folks. We will see you next time for the finale. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.